Welcome to the second part of the talk on understanding metrics. So this part will be focusing on the audience and understanding the context of the audience, and also having a look at segmentation to get a better understanding of the user journey as a whole. So in terms of creating a long-term strategy, so those are your impressions, the maximum, from top to bottom, maximum number of impressions that you can get. What is the size of your potential audience? And down here we've got the conversion rate. So what we end up seeing is at the higher level of impressions, you've got a far lower conversion rate. And I appreciate this isn't statistically accurate, but nonetheless the trend is there. At the high level of impressions, it's not necessarily the audience that is going to convert right at the end. Right at the end, this is where you're looking at those hard metrics. The problem is that in order to get over here, we need to bring people in from here. So when we're looking at campaigns and trying to build things out, if you look at solely focusing on brand terms, you'll have a great you'll have a great conversion rate, but you're not going to have many to go with. And in terms of moving forward, and this is why I refer back to being short-sighted, in terms of moving forward, what you'll end up with is an impression pool which doesn't grow. Nobody else knows about you. So what we've done in terms of trying to provide an overall strategy is to break these down into tiers. So I've got here as examples, tier 4 to tier 1. Now, depending on your business and how you need to have a look at your audience and where to grow those audiences and where to hit those metrics that you're needing to understand the journey, you might have 5 tiers, 6 tiers, 3 tiers. The point is having a look at the way that your journey is carried out by the audience and breaking it down to what makes sense for you. Metrics is all about context, and chasing it solely for the purpose of hitting a KPI is not going to deliver really what you want in the long run. So in my example, tier 4 are oblivious. Now, they are oblivious to you. They're interested potentially in the product that you've got on offer, the booking or the resort that you have, but they don't know you. They know nothing about you. I appreciate it's hyperbolic, but last week I was walking down the street and some guy comes up to me and says, "Would you like to buy a laptop?" Now obviously, stolen goods aside, I don't know this person. There are no elements of trust. This is effectively the audience that I am in. And trying to explain this to people, why are these people not converting, is exactly the same reason why I did not buy the laptop of the person who approached me. I don't know them. I have no interest in what they have potentially. I don't trust them. So what we need to do, rather than focusing on trying to get a conversion at each point in the tiers, is instead to bring them into the next tier along each time. So at this point, they're oblivious. Impressions, trying to get as much brand awareness as possible. Now, there are different channels that you can do this with. There is obviously, with regards to paid media, you can go for just normal search. That tends to be quite costly. Alternatively, display. Now, display is an area of contention sometimes because people are often saying, why are they not converting? It's got a terrible conversion rate. Of course, if I'm targeting people here and you have to amend your overall strategy based upon where they are along the journey. If I'm along here, I'm not about to buy, but if I'm aware of you enough, I might move into the next tier. Another area for this could be Facebook. Now, Facebook sort of often borders between 4 and 3 in certain strategies. But here, at tier 4, I have no idea. I'm just trying to get awareness of it. At tier 3, we've got research. I'll just mark these down. At tier 3, we've got research. Now, the impression pool is smaller. But at this point, people are actually, there is higher level of user intent. Now, this conversion rate is almost indicative of the level of user intent. So at this point, they know of you. You're not completely unknown. They're looking at research. At this point, you're more interested potentially in getting those clicks, getting that level of traffic through to your site. So what do we do? How do we gauge this? Bounce rates is a great example. We're trying to make sure we're getting the right audience. And again, this is looking at those metrics. What sort of bounce rate and what sort of audience which we are segmenting is performing better here. We want to be able to keep those people on the site. The other thing you want to have a look at the research phase is the click-through rate. It is at this point that you are really trying to gauge whether the audience is that interested and you're trying to bring those people in. They've already heard of you, they're not oblivious to you. But how do we keep them? Trust. Trust is a massive, massive thing now. More so than before, with so many people reviewing things, reviewing accommodation, reviewing a resort, reviewing a product. At that point, if you're up against competition, and at this point it does become a lot more competitive, trust is a massive factor. So when you're bringing those people into your tier 3s, trust marks, bring them to a page where you've got reviews, where you've got levels of recognition that people, now that they know of you, they have seen you, they have come to you, and they know that you're not necessarily, they know that you're not scamming or anything like that. Only at this point are you going to move them into tier 2. So this is the point where we really want to sort of reduce the bounce rates, increase return visits, because they are just researching. And again, at this phase, most people are not going to convert immediately. Tier 2, they're considering. See, they've heard of you, they've seen you, they've had a look at the site, they've had a look at the competition as well, because it is potentially a very, very saturated market. They've done their research. If they've gone through to this stage, and this is the point, you want to move them from the research phase to the consideration phase. If they're considering, the metrics that you need to start looking at are again different. Have a look at the engagement. Are they spending more time on the site? Are they flicking through the online brochure? Are they having a look at the product details? All of these things would indicate, and again, it's all about understanding the user intent, would indicate that they are considering the purchase. Or are they sharing the content? Now, again, I've mentioned Facebook. Sharing content is really, really useful in trying to understand the level of user engagement. Because at this point, if they are sharing content, it could be showing that they are trying to present their findings to their peers, their friends, and asking for their level of advice. Or it could simply be that they are trusting enough of you to recommend it to someone else. So it is at this point that we need to have a look at those metrics. It is the engagement level. And this brings us through to converting. This is where we want to see those conversions, the return on ad spend, the conversion rates, all of that side, all of these hard metrics, your KPIs, this is the pool. Now the thing is, if we only focus on this one, we're not bringing anything in. And this is what I mean by a long-term thing. We want to see growth, because looking at it at the short term can deliver fantastic results immediately. That's great, but it's not going to go anywhere further than that. This will be the level that you are at. So you need to be able to invest in growing that audience, because all we want to do is where we've got this impression pool up here, because that's not going to change. We want to increase the breadth of this. So by allowing for more people, allowing you to grow that side of things to increase the maximum potential that you'll end up in tier 1. So hopefully that's brought into light some angles to have a look at and some levels of consideration for the audience and the context. If you've got any questions about segmentation and trying to have those breakdowns to really gain a better understanding of your audience and therefore how to grow those metrics that you're targeting, please feel free to get in touch. In the next video, we'll be focusing on long-term strategy.